Hello pattern lovers, you're welcome and welcome back. It's yet another exciting tutorial, and in today's video we'll be drafting this beautiful plunge neckline off shoulder bustier pattern with a very stylish hemline, scallop hemline. So someone requested for this particular pattern, and since there's no much difference with what you're about to do, we'll be killing two birds with one stone. So while drafting this particular pattern, I'll be showing you how to go about it to achieve the other pattern, which the major difference is that the other band is firm around the upper arm and this one is structured. So if you like the sound of that, kindly watch the end and let's get right into it. On my pattern paper, I have the shoulder line, the bust point line, the underbust line, the waist line, and then the blouse length. And for the blouse length, I went down 10 inches from my waistline. If you don't want to do it that way, you can decide to go down to your hip line and add extra 1 inch as the blouse length. Now I'm going to come to the shoulder and mark 3 inches as the neck width. Then I'll come to this point and go down to 1.5 for the shoulder slope. Now I'm going to use my ruler to slant the shoulder this way. Then I'm going to get the midpoint of this line, and on that point I'll be going in by 1/2 inch. I'll come to the chest line and take the bust measurement divided by 4 plus extra 1/2 inch. You will know why later. Okay, then I'm going to first I like to slant to the shoulder tip on that midpoint. Then I use this part of the curve to curve the armhole this way. Then I'm going to get the bust span on the bust point line and also on the blouse length. Then I'm going to connect it straight this way, and now we have the dart line. I'm going to come to the shoulder and get the midpoint of the shoulder slope this way and connect it to the bust span like this. Now I'll come to the waistline. On both sides of this dart line, I'll be taking 0.75. That's 1.5 as the dart intake. Then at the underbust, I will be marking 0.75 going to the center front. Then I'll place 2 inches on that point. Yeah, I'm trying to have the exact 2 inches, and that's it there. Now I'm going to curve from the underbust to the bust point this way. Then I'm going to extend from the underbust to the waistline just like this. Then I'll come to the blouse length, whatever it is I have on the waistline, which is 1.5. I'm going to mark the same thing here and then extend the dart leg all the way to the hemline like this. I already have the bust measurements. I'll come to the waistline and take the waist measurement divided by 4 plus the 1.5 dart intake. I'll replace it. And then I'll come to the blouse length and take the hip measurement divided by 4 plus the 1.5 dart intake. Now I'm going to use my curve to connect this measurement just like this. I'll come to the bust point line and go down 1.5, and that would be the bust dart, because that's the difference between my front length and then the back length. Then I'm going to slant it to the bust span this way. I'm trying to make you see the bust dart. Now to tighten the overbust, I'll be going up 4 inches from the bust point line. My regular overbust line is 3.5, yeah, but you know, after throwing your darts, you see that it's no longer what you use as your overbust line. Since it's usually 3.75 in my case, I want to do 4 inches here. So basically, whatever you usually use as your overbust line, just add extra 1/2 inch to it. It's not a big deal. Remember, this is a plunge neckline. So going up 1/2 inch from your regular overbust line is not a big deal. Then on that point, I'm going out to 0.75. You can decide to do 1/2 inch here and then do 1 inch here so that you have your 1.5. Okay. And of course, 1.5 is not standard. So I'm going to extend from the bust point to that 0.75 on the 4 inches I went up. And remember, I always say that this line has to look like an extension, at least to 1/2 inch or 1 inch below the bust point line. Right now, from the shoulder, you're going to go down to where you want the neckline to sit, or you can start from the underbust and go up to where you want the neckline to sit. Judging from what is on the thumbnail, 1.5 or 2 inches from your underbust up can give you that neckline. Okay, Then I'm going to place my curve this way. However you place your curve here determines how your curve is going to come out, or your neckline is going to come out. Then I'm going to place my 1.5 here and mark it on this other end. Or better still, you can start from the line that went across to the shoulder slope, yeah, and go out by 0.75. But first, I'll be coming up here by the same 4 inches we used on the other side. Okay, then after that, I'm going to mark my 0.75, which of course is 1.5. I use as the overbust tightening. You get? Then I'm going to connect it this way. Now I'll come to the shoulder slope and come down to 2.5. What you do here depends on how off you want it to be on your shoulder. Okay, 2.5 works, 2.5, 3 inches works. Okay, so I'm using 2.5. Then I'm going to connect it to this that leg this way. Now I'm going to extend the shoulder slope line. You're going to place your ruler this way and extend it. Then from this point I'll be going out by 4 inches, okay, making sure the 4 inches rest on the extended shoulder slope line. And whatever measurement you take here depends on how wide you want it to be on your arm, like how loose you want it to be on your arm. First you have to extend this line. Just use a straight ruler to extend it. You don't have to do it any other way, okay? And then the 4 inches is not optional. It depends on how loose you want it to be on the arm. Remember, this is going to be structured, so whatever you do here is totally optional. It's not necessarily going to be fitted around the upper arm. Okay, then I'll connect it this way and blend in the line. Now I'm going to go down here on a 90-degree line. Okay, I have that on my pattern master, so I'm going to mark it this way. That's a 90-degree part. And then I'm going to go out there by 2.5. That's like how wide I want the off shoulder band to be, like the height of the off shoulder band. Then I'm going to extend it this way, and then I'm going to follow this curve and add my 2.5 until I get to the armhole curve. Okay, and then I'm going to use my curve this way and blend it in. Just connect the points. I'm going to use the suitable part of the curve until I have a smooth curve this way. Now at this point you can decide to blend in this part, or you can leave it. It's totally optional. If you blend it in, it's not bad. If you leave it like this, it's also not bad. Okay, then I'll try to blend in this part. If when you're done and you are not satisfied with what you have there, you can blend it in until you have a very smooth curve around that point. Okay, the next thing you can decide to do is to tighten this off shoulder band. First, you're going to measure from here to here. For me, I have 4 inches. Then measuring this other side, I have 5.25. Okay, which is about 1.25 more than what I have at the other side. And for this down part, you're supposed to add half inch or 0.75 to what you have at the upper part. So I'm going to take out 0.75 here. Okay, then measuring it to see that I have 4.5, which is like adding half inch to what I have here. And the reason why we do that is to ensure that you have the ease that you need to raise your arm comfortably, so that it won't restrict you raising your arm. That's the essence of adding half inch or 0.75 to whatever you have at the upper part of the off shoulder band. Do you get that? So I'm going to connect it this way. And this part is also optional since we are going for a structured off shoulder band. Okay, now I said I'll be showing you how to go about it in case you want to do this particular one. You're simply going to follow the same process. The only difference is the neckline, and that the band is going to be firm at the upper arm. Yeah, so you're going to, like, from the shoulder go down to 5 inches or 6 inches, and then you connect it. The band, everything is going to be the same except the neckline. And then you're going to measure your upper arm, round your upper arm. Whatever you measured, you're going to start from here and add half of it. Let's say you measured 6 inches, you're going to add 3 inches here, and then you connect it down. It's very simple. At the down part, you make sure you have 3.5 or 4 inches, so you have the ease to raise your arm and it won't restrict you raising your arm. Aside that, every other thing is just the same, just the neckline, and that you have to make the band firm at the upper arm. Okay, So I went ahead to trace out the pattern to reflect on the other side of the paper, and after tracing it out with my tracing wheel, I used my marker to highlight it. And while doing this part, you can see that the tightening is not there, because I want to show you the effect. By the end of this video, you have two options whether you want to tighten that part or not. Okay, so now let's do the hem design. The longer part of the blouse or the hem is going to be on the left side of the body. Take note of that. So now from this dart leg, I'll be going up 2.5. Okay, 2.5 up, and then I'm going to use my curve. I'll place it like I want to curve out a sweetheart neckline. You're going to place your curve like you want to have a sweetheart neckline. Can you see that? And then you're also going to like do the same thing on this other end, just that this one will stop at the hem or the blouse length. Can you see? And then measuring from here down, you see that I have about 0.75 added to it, but this part stops at the blouse length. Remember I said that the blouse length is 10 inches from the waistline. My hip line is 8.5, and adding 1 inch to it is 9.5, but I decided to do 10 inches because that's how I want it. You can decide to just go down to your hip line plus extra 1 inch for the blouse length. Then since this part and this part is the same, you'll be joining them together. Yeah, you're also going to come up here by 2.5, the same thing we have at the other dart leg. Then coming to this dart leg, you're going to go up 5 inches. Whatever you have here, you're going to double it on this side. If you have 2 inches here, you're going to do 4 inches here. That's just it. Okay, so since I have 2.5 here, I'm going to go up here 5 inches. Then again, I'm going to place my curve like I want to have a sweetheart neckline, a very sweetheart neckline. And you can use the midpoint to your advantage to have a very smooth curve. The crease line is like the midpoint of this pattern. Yeah, so you can use it to your advantage to have a very smooth curve. Okay, so I'm going to also place my curve this way and curve this part out, and you can see that it looks so much like what we have on the thumbnail. And if I measure from the midpoint, like the crease line down, you see that I have about 1.25 less. So I have 1.25 here, and adding it to the 0.75 I have here, you see that it's about 2 inches, or let's say 2.2 less than what we have on the side. So now on this other dart leg too, you're also going to come up by 5 inches, the same thing we have on the second dart leg. Then you come to the side and also go up with the same value, 5 inches. Then I'm going to place my curve this same way you can see me do it, and then curve it out. Just place your curve until you are comfortable with what you have, like the placement, like it will give you your desired curve, and you curve it out. So after you're done, you're going to use your picture to compare it with what you have here. If you're comfortable with that, then you're good to go. But this looks like what we have on the thumbnail. Now we are going to cut out the pattern. First, we'll be closing the bust dart on both sides. And to do that, I'll be slashing this dart line to the bust point this way. Then I'm going to fold the bust dart this way to create a crease line. Can you see that? And like I always say, I like to place it from the bust span. Yeah, I'll start from the bust span and place it on the bust point line going towards the side this way. Then I will apply my water glue just to hold the paper down, and then I'm going to um place it this way. Then after that, I'm going to blend in the side line just so it looks like what we should have there, because you can see that it's now distorted. And then I'm going to repeat the exact same thing on this side. First, I will open up the dart this way to the bust point. Then I'm going to fold the bust dart and place it on the bust point line. Make it rest on the bust point line. Apply my water glue and then use it to hold the fold down this way. Blend in the side line like this, and then you're good to go. So I'm simply going to cut out the pattern just the same way you can see me do it. So while doing your hemline, if you feel like you don't want to measure the same way I measured, like measure this dart leg and measure the same value on the second dart leg, you can decide to fold your dart, like you fold it to rest on the second dart leg and then you do your curve. But I feel like that's a whole lot of work. And besides, since you haven't opened up any part of the pattern, it might even distort your curve. So just go ahead and do it the same way you see me do it on this pattern, because at the end of the day, it gives me what I want, like what I should have. Okay, so after cutting out the whole pattern, this is what it looks like. And then I'm going to keep this aside so that we'll work on the back pattern. And looking at it now, you see that the hemline does not have any issues. Okay, now for the back pattern, I already have the shoulder line, the shoulder slope, the chest line, the waistline, and then the blouse length. Measuring from the shoulder to the waistline, I have 15 and a half, and then down to the blouse length, I have 25 and a half against the 27 inches I used for the front, and 15 and a half against the 17 inches I used as the front waistline. The 1.5 missing is what I use as the bust dart. Okay, now I'll from the center back line and go in 0.75 to contour the center back because it's not straight. Then I'll place my curve the same way you see me do it in this video and contour the center back just like this. Now I'm going to start from this center back contour line and take my bust span of 3.5. Then I will start from the waistline and go up 6 inches and come down 6 inches, and that would be the dart length. Measuring from the bust span line to the initial center back line, I have 4.2. So I'm going to mark the same 4.2 here and the same 4.2 at this point too, just to have a straight line for the dart intake. On both sides of this dart line now, I'll be taking in 1/2 inch and then give it the dart shape. Next, I'm going to come to the shoulder and get the midpoint of the shoulder slope and connect it to the bust span or the dart we already have, just like this. Then I will also extend the dart all the way to the blouse length like this. I'll take the bust measurement divided by 4 from the center back contour line. Then I'll also start from the center back contour line and take the waist measurement divided by 4 plus the 1 inch dart intake. I'll go to the blouse length and take the hip measurement divided by 4. There's no dart intake there, so you're not replacing any dart. Then I'm going to use my curve to connect the measurements this way. Now I'm going to start from this shoulder and go down to where I want the neckline to sit. And remember, for the front, from my underbust line, which is 13.5, I came up 2 inches, which is 11.5. So you can decide to maintain the same neck depth, but I did 10 inches here, which I feel like I should have done 8. Then from the shoulder slope here, I went down 2.5. Then I'm going to connect it to the neck depth like this. Next, I'm going to extend the shoulder slope like this, just like we did for the front. Okay, then I'm going to go out 4 inches and make sure it rests on the extended shoulder slope. Okay, then I'm going to extend it to this point, just like this. Can you see that? Now I'm going to come down here by 2.5, and then here I'm trying to like make sure I have 4.5 here, and I ended up doing 5 inches just so it will look good. Okay, and then I'm going to connect it this way. Now following this line, I'll be adding 5 inches, 2.5, the same thing we used as the height of the shoulder band or shoulder band. And then I'm going to curve the armhole this way. Now to tighten, on both sides of this line, I'll be taking in 1/2 inch. Okay, can you see what I'm doing? Then I'm going to extend it to the dart like this. So doing it this way, you already threw the dart legs. They are going to align when you are joining it, because measuring it now, you see that I have the same thing on both sides. So either you drop this one or you raise this one to match up with the other one. It's very simple, but I choose to raise this other side. Now I'm going to blend it into the neck depth, which I said it would have looked so much better if the neck depth is a bit upper than this. Instead of using the 10 inches, I should have used 8 inches. Not that this one is bad, but I feel like it would look so much better that way. And then I blend in this other part because it needs to be blended. So that's pretty much about it. If you're going for the fitted off shoulder pattern, just repeat the same thing I explained while doing the front pattern. Okay, you're going to add half of what you measured around your upper arm here, and then you extend it down. So you have like 3 inches there. You're going to make the down part 3.5 or 4 inches, and then you connect it so that it will be firm on your shoulder, and also you have the ease to raise your arm the way you want. Then the neckline is going to be, since you use 5 inches on the front pattern, you do 4 inches at the back. So since I do not need to trace out the back pattern, I'm simply going to cut it out just the same way you see me do it. And after cutting it out, to go ahead and do, yeah, work on the hemline. Okay.
Never leaving you in the darkness, even when you're out of focus. I will be the light in your life, you'll see it clear. I'll be your inspiration, 'cause I know that you'll do just what you're told.
So after cutting it out, you're going to open up your pattern the same way you see me do it, and then you're going to bring in your side front, the side front pattern. And what you're going to do is to match up the waistline of both the side front and then the side back. Either you match up the waistline or you match up the armhole, it's still the same thing. Okay, but you have to do it this way so that you know where you want to work on the hem. Okay, and the same way you place it, like you do it on your pattern, you're also going to take notes while transferring to your fabric, so you don't end up cutting two sides as the same. It's not supposed to be like that. You cut your pattern on fold for a reason. Yeah, so now after notching it or marking it where it's supposed to be, you're going to place your curve and curve it anyhow you want. Let's say you just want it to be slanted to this center back, you're going to do it like that. But for me, I would love it to go all the way to the other side, like slant it all the way to the other side. Okay, so I'm going to bring in the other two pattern, and then I'm going to place my curve this way and blend it in, or like slant it to the other side. Can you see what I did? It looks so much better. I think it's better this way. Whatever you do here now depends on what you want, but just make sure that the shorter part of your pattern, you also make one side of the back shorter, just like the front, so that you won't have a hard time. And then the longer part is also as long as the other long part on your front pattern. Okay, so I went ahead to tape the pattern down, and you can already tell that this is a fit, and the hemline just came out as sweet as we want it. Can you see that? And this band, this particular band, is the one we tightened on the pattern. Can you see the wideness? It works really well. Like that would work. Then this one is the one we did not tighten, and you can also see the wideness. So you're going to choose the one you want, and since you're going for structure, whichever one you choose does not matter, since it's not as if it's going to be fitted around the upper arm. It's going to be structured and be free around that part. So if you choose the one that we tighten, is fine. If you choose the one that we did not tighten, is also fine. At least you can see the effect of both, so you choose the one that you want. Then for the bustier, it's going to be a structured bustier. Okay, it's going to be like a bridal bustier. But if you're going for the regular bustier method, I would advise that you do an illusion neckline. You use your skin tone mesh about 3 inches upward from the neck depth. Okay, 3 inches or more, depending on what you want, so that it will hold your body together. That's if you don't want to do the structured bustier. So basically, either you structure or you go for illusion neckline. There are no two ways about it. But the advantage of structuring is that even if there's nothing much around the chest area to support it, it's still going to come out rigid, do its work with no form of gaping anywhere. Then for the off shoulder band, you're going to use your corset mesh to structure that part, or you can use your crinoline or ridgeline bone. You can even do a combination of ridgeline bone and crinoline band. Okay, so you already know that this would come out so well. You're going to go ahead and transfer this to your fabric, and happy sewing. I'll see you in my next video. Bye bye.